Hello beautiful people of the internet, my name is Fleur, welcome to my channel. So when I was a little bean I was obsessed with How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I would watch it every year all the way up into adulthood. Everyone thought I was cuckoo bananas because whilst everyone else was watching Love Actually, I was watching Jim Carrey strutting about in head to toe bright green fur. And I think people thought I really related to tiny little Cindy Lou Who singing about these great big feelings she was having for the first time, but genuinely they could not have been more wrong. My little undiagnosed autistic ADHD ass saw myself so much in the Grinch as the outsider that tried so hard and cared about so much but just could not get it right. And by the end of the film, when they're all holding hands and singing together, I would be all misty-eyed. But this year, for the first time ever, especially listening to Taylor Momsen's new rock version of the iconic Where Are You Christmas, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm Cindy Lou. I don't know. It has been a while since Christmas has felt like anything other than the pressure to make the perfect meal or buy everyone the perfect present. And now I say no more. Today is December 1st and this year we are focusing on recapturing our joy. So I'm going to be making a DIY mini Christmas stocking garland that doubles as an advent calendar. I was certain I had some Christmassy patterned fabric somewhere, and while I was looking for it, I actually came across this lovely gold fabric that was given to me. Let's get going, shall we?
First things first is to choose the fabric for the outside of our mini stockings. Just look at the way the different gold textures catch the light. Tell me that doesn't scream festive to you. I want a bit of a mix and match scenario, so I'm going to pair it with this super soft dark green needle cord and then break up the two strong dark colours with some contrasting pops from this seasonal selection. Aren't the little gingerbread people so cute? Before sewing anything, I'm drawing myself a little pattern for the shape of the stocking. It's much easier to use card instead of paper for this step because the edges won't bend when you trace along them. Then, using the top end of the stocking we just cut out, I'm sketching a rectangle to use to trace the cuff fabric. I don't have any measurements because I'm drawing it myself, but I think my cuff piece is about 3 inches tall. You can, of course, make these pieces however big or small you'd like. Just scale up a little from the final size you're working towards because, like with any project, we are going to lose a fair bit of the size to the seams. Next is to begin tracing and cutting out your pattern pieces. You might have noticed earlier that I numbered each side of the stocking card, side 1 and side 2. Trace an equal amount of both because you will need one of each to put together so that the stocking has a front and a back. Apologies for stating the obvious, but that is exactly the kind of small detail I would absolutely overlook and just have a bunch of fronts or backs and nothing to put together to make a whole. But maybe that's just me. To add to this tracing extravaganza, you are also going to want to do exactly the same thing for whatever fabric you're using as lining. That could be something colourful and festive if you like. I tend to use calico to line most of my projects at the moment if the lining isn't really on show, simply because it's cheaper and I've got an awful lot of it lying around. When we're done cutting out all of our fabric, we should have a side 1 and side 2 for all of the lining and the outer fabric of each stocking we want to sew alongside 2 of the rectangle cuff pieces. That's a total of 6 pieces per stocking plus a small length of ribbon to create the loop so we can hang them up. Here I just have some ordinary red ribbon I had completely forgotten I had, which does somewhat seem to be a theme here, and I thought it might be nice to also use the ribbon that was tied around the festive fabric so that it doesn't go to waste. Look at that pile of cuff fabric, this print gives me so much joy. And soon we'll have something that looks like this. Oh look, it's me the next morning. Jump scare! I am a huge fan of how the cat on this mug is facing away from us. It's the most cat thing it could possibly have done and I really respect it. As you can see, I've organised all the ingredients for each stocking into little piles, which of course is completely optional, but you might find it handy if you're using a bunch of different colours and patterns like me and want to make sure everything is contrasted and complemented exactly how you like it. I'm not sure I could really tell you what this Christmas movie is about because I'm paying next to no attention to it. I just find it much easier to do activities like this with noise on in the background. What do we listen to while we sew? Are we doing music? Or do we prefer the surely magical combination of peace and quiet intermittently interrupted by the charmingly aggressive mechanical clanking of the sewing machine? Let me know in the comments below. When we've got together all the parts for one stocking, we can finally begin putting it together. Yay! Sew the narrow edge of the rectangular cuff to the top edge of the outer fabric of the stocking, right sides facing. Here I'm using a seam allowance of 1 centimetre or approximately 3/8 of an inch. Open out your work so that both right sides are facing you. Line up the stocking lining to the remaining narrow edge of the rectangular cuff, right sides facing. The foot shape of the stocking lining should be facing the same direction as the foot shape of the stocking outer fabric, sew the lining to the cuff. This is where I like to attach the ribbon because if I leave it until I've done both sides, there's simply no guarantee it'll get sewn on at all. Fold your piece of ribbon in half to create a loop and baste it to the right side of your fabric near where the stocking meets the cuff. Open ribbon ends pointing towards the outer edge and folded end pointing towards the stocking centre. Trim your seams. Repeat these steps, minus the ribbon, for the other half of the stocking. Match up the two halves, right sides facing, and sew them together, making absolutely sure to leave a gap so that we can turn the stocking right side out. The easiest way to do this would be to mark out at least a 1-inch gap on the fabric. I like to place mine at the bottom end of the lining so it will be completely unseen on the final product. Then through that hole we are just going to turn the whole thing right side out. But be warned, this part is a teeny bit fiddly, especially if, like me, you don't have the daintiest hands on the planet. Just be patient. You can move with purpose, just don't pull too hard because we don't want to tear any of the stitching and undo the hard work we've done so far. Now that everything is right side out, you'll want to tuck in the raw edges of the lining fabric where the hole is and sew it up. You could do an invisible ladder stitch here so that the lining looks flawless, but I'm not going to do that because number 1, I've got 20 plus tiny stockings to sew, and number 2, you won't see it anyway because the lining is on the inside. Once that's all sewn up, all that's left is to tuck the lining into the inside where it's supposed to be. As you can see, I like to use the famous pretend your thumb is wearing a stocking technique. And there we have it. Now you can, of course, stop here and use the stockings as individual tree decorations or even perhaps a keyring to give as a mini homemade gift. But I am going to turn mine into an advent calendar by tucking little numbers and chocolates into each stocking. So I need at least 24, which I am then going to braid together on a ribbon. And would you look at that? I'm genuinely really proud of this crafty Christmas DIY, I cannot lie. Thank you so much for spending time with me over here on my channel. It's been an honour and a privilege. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!